Level up with the new AAA Commanders MVP membership. Get all the benefits of AAA plus exclusive experiences, discounts, and tickets. Already a AAA member? Upgrade for free or join today at AAA.com/Commanders. Hello and welcome to my podcast. Do me a favor, subscribe to the John Conn Report wherever you get your podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. You can find us there as part of Empire Media, AMPIRE always. Much appreciated when you tune in. Don't forget you can read my work on ESPN.com. I have a story up over the weekend, or just probably up, it will be up Saturday, on the state of the Commanders' run game, which hasn't been good. And the team they're playing is really, really good at stopping the run. So we'll see what happens, but I kind of dig into that, and I'm going to talk about that in a few minutes with my second thoughts. The second thoughts, by the way, are presented by AAA, so I'll get to those in a minute, but I wanted to go over a couple things first. First of all, I do have something I want you to watch on Sunday Morning Countdown. I was part of a feature on Jaden Daniels and Doug Williams and their relationship, the legacy that Williams created, that Daniels is trying to follow. And I will have a story on that a week from tomorrow, but the TV version it's part of Sunday Morning Countdown, some cool footage from Jaden when he was younger. We talked to his dad. I sat down with Jaden and Doug for about 10, 15 minutes. Now the whole piece is probably about 5 minutes. But do me a favor, give that a watch. Pretty big deal, so appreciate it. And good stuff by both of them, as always. So anyways, that'll be on Sunday Morning Countdown. And you club members, don't forget, I'll be doing a private chat with you about 3 hours or so before kickoff. I'll put that link out there. If you want to become a club member, go to the Empire Media 2 page on your laptops. Either way, join, click on that, go from there. Let's get to the injuries. I did want to go over some injuries that, as you know, Jaden Daniels will start. Terry McLaurin is out. Tight end Colson Yankoff is out. And then Johnny Newton, John Bates, and Laremy Tunsil are all questionable. They were all listed as limited participants in practice Friday. And it was Newton who did not practice on Thursday, but Tunsil was limited. So see what happens. Don't know what's going to happen. They definitely are questionable, and I think, I'm not going to tell you they feel good because I don't know at this point what they're going to do. So let's get to, I know what I was going to do. Listen, folks, it's been a tough season so far. So let's laugh and have a little bit of fun here because it is football. It's supposed to be fun. So I got something for you, and you're going to cringe after I do this, but it's I'm a dad. I like the dad jokes. Listen, man, one of my favorite dad jokes was one time, and I may do the banana thing all the time, but one time on Christmas morning, I tied an apple to my wrist, told my kids I got an Apple Watch. So, they kind of enjoyed that one, I think. But anyway, so here we go. All right, folks, which days are the strongest? What do you got? Saturday and Sunday, because the rest are weekdays. There you go. You're welcome. Like I said, I think at this point in the year, we all have to laugh a little bit. So let's have a little bit of fun with this. It's not so serious. And I know this is a disappointing season and there's 9 games left. Now, can they get better? Yes, because you have to get healthy. But that's a phrase that we've been saying since week 2. So I don't know if they're going to, but let's have a little bit of fun, at least within the whole analysis and getting angry, etc. So there you go. That's my one dad joke for today. Let's move on. That's what I forgot. I didn't want to forget that. Let's get to everything else. So, Commanders fans, this is for you. Level up with the brand new AAA Commanders MVP membership. You'll receive all the benefits of AAA, such as 24/7 roadside assistance, plus chances to win game tickets, access to exclusive team events and experiences, along with 15% off Commanders gear at the online pro shop. Already a AAA member? Add the Commanders MVP membership for free. Head to AAA.com/Commanders to upgrade or join the squad and put your fandom in drive. I don't like eating out a lot on the road, especially for breakfast. That's why I bring my Huel Black Edition with me on the road. It fills me up and I'm ready to go. I've cut down on what I eat in the morning. I've even lost a few pounds. Each meal has 35 grams of protein, 6 grams of fiber, 27 essential vitamins and minerals. There's no added sugar, it's gluten-free, and it's less than $5 per meal. And now Huel just dropped a first-of-its-kind Super Greens drink in a can. It's called the Huel Daily Greens Ready to Drink. It was developed by registered nutritionists and dietitians and contains 42 vitamins, minerals, and superfoods, yet there's only 25 calories. It also has 4 grams of fiber and only 1 gram of sugar. If you're busy, focused on fitness, Huel can be a big help. Huel makes healthy eating simple. They also just launched into Target stores nationwide. Try both products today with 15% off your purchase for new customers with my exclusive code KEIM at www.huel.com/KEIM. Use my code, fill out the post-checkout survey to help support the show. Number one, not expecting. Oh, by the way, in a few minutes, I'm going to have a conversation with Treylon, with Trey Burks, and also with his position or not position coach with Brian Johnson. A comment on him, but I talked to Burks for about 4 or 5 minutes. If you want to skip to that, that will be part of my second thought. But Burks was I really enjoyed talking to him, and maybe there's a reason I'm talking to him this week. I don't know. We'll see. Anyways, number one, not expecting a busy trade deadline. That, of course, is coming up next week. We will see. Like, can't rule anything out because last year the trade deadline, kept hearing all along, probably if anything, only like a late round pick that would give something up for, right? Only like, well, for them, Marshawn Lattimore became available, and for them, it was worth it then to go in with a few, with some higher picks to get a guy that they liked, that they felt would do, help them this year, but also if he played well, would help them for a couple years because the guys that they saw at corner were not that they felt would be available did not like. So that was kind of an unexpected move, and it was something that they did not expect. So my point in saying that is you don't know what could happen. But as I sit here on Friday recording this, not expecting a busy day for them, and it wouldn't shock me at all if they didn't do anything. That wouldn't shock me. So again, I'm not privy to all the conversations. And all it takes is one. So there's a lot of caveats here that you have to, because I know sometimes you might say something like, I'm not expecting it. And I give caveats, but all anybody hears is, I only this. So you got to listen to the whole thing because it's important. They only have 6 picks in the draft, 3 of them in the sixth and seventh rounds, not dealing from a lot of strength there. And I do know that they have been reluctant they were previous in the offseason, reluctant to trade any of those picks for anything. That's among the reasons they were never in on the Trey Hendrickson talks before the season. So, I know they want to keep that. We'll see what happens there. Could they become sellers? I don't know what they're really going to be able to sell, and it's something that would bring anything back of true value. Not the hardware store, but there you go, another dad joke. Not the hardware store, but of like in terms of picks. Could you get more late round picks? Yes, you can always use more of those, but they're going to need some high picks. So I don't know. Nobody's going to bring that back, and there's no reason to trade Deron Payne. I don't see that. I think if in their eyes, like, okay, even if they lose at 3 and 6, you still have Jaden. Can you get these guys back healthy? You can still make some kind of run. You may disagree, but they not. And the other part with Deron Payne, you can always trade him in the offseason. There's no rush to trade him. He's not a free agent now. He's under contract for next year. There is no reason to trade him now, even if you're 3 and 6, because what if you want to keep him and work something out with this contract? So there you go. And so, one of the guys that you say like, could a Noah Igbenogany have some sort of value? He played a lot last year, not playing very little this year. He could be a depth piece for someone else if they wanted, but what would he bring back, right? So I don't know, and I don't know that there's a whole lot of value with a lot of these guys. So it's why I don't. It could be a quiet day for them, but we'll see. And I think I'm going to segue from that to the Adam Peters discussion because I keep seeing things about how bad his offseason was or something like that, and how maybe they skipped a step in this whole rebuild process. I think maybe the outside world skipped a step where their roster was at. And the more I think about this, because I know the conversations I had last offseason, I think they were well aware of where their roster was at. I think they were well aware of what Jaden Daniels can do for a roster and how many sins he can cover up on a roster when you have a quarterback like that. I think they were well aware of all of that because I had those conversations. I didn't get the sense from them that they thought, hey, and I think I've told you before, like, after this team in 2020 made the playoffs and played Tampa well for 3 quarters in that playoff game, there were definitely people here who thought, oh, that's a sign that they're ready to take this big step. Bottom line is they were 7-9 and they had holes. And I think there definitely were some people here who overlooked those because I talked to them at that time. I did not get the sense from these guys that said, hey, that they felt like, hey, they're on the Eagles level. Now there's some people here who felt like the players like, hey, why not? Why couldn't you beat the Eagles? Because it's the NFL, you never know. But I don't think I don't think Peters and that group felt like they were at so close that they could just go for it because to be honest, like Debo Samuel's the name, he's not a go for it guy. Like he's a guy that San Francisco was willing to give up. He's a big name, but his talent, he's not a, we're not talking going out and trading for Jamar Chase, for example, and giving up all these picks for him. It's a fifth round pick for Debo Samuel, who has actually helped you way more than a fifth round pick would. Now, maybe could the fifth round pick develop and do something down the road? Sure. But that's still very much a crapshoot. And then I think when you look at Laramie Tunsil, very good move. They've got their left tackle for several years. I think Trey Amos, very good pick. Josh Connelly, got to wait and see. And by the way, he's going to be one of my thoughts too. I talked to Bobby Johnson about him, and I have a few things to talk about with him. That's still a wait and see. We don't know where he's going to go. I think there's things you can like and say you can build on this, but you don't know. And stuff like that, like guys like that, tackles take few years to develop, especially when you know all the stuff that they have to pay attention to and be aware of. So, anyways, but that's a wait and see. So, my point in saying all this is that this is not to defend Adam Peters. I just don't think I don't think there was a bad job. I don't think they skipped steps. I do know what we all know, and we all can agree with: the roster is too old, right? There are too many guys, and I put guys at 28, 29. They're still in their prime. But they have a lot of those kind of guys. They need to get that 26 and younger where now you start to build. But that's where this coming offseason comes in, where I always felt like this had to be the offseason where you really make another strong move in the draft picks. Can you add some? And then just with free agency, right? Like and I think the other thing is it's not about getting big names in free agency. It's about getting good players. And then I think this year you've got to focus on, can you get good players who are at or in their primes, like the Frankie Louvu types, Javon Kinlaw, like those guys are strong contributors who are like really kind of ready to start to ascend versus guys at the end of their prime, who aren't going to help you but for a year or two. So I think you need to get more of those guys. That's got to be the plan this offseason. But I don't think it was, I think a lot of his moves, the Lattimore move, like he's actually played pretty well for a lot of this year, just not in some of the games that you needed him to. And in some of those games where you need him to be better, like against Dallas, right? And so I get that. But 3 of the last 4 games, he has played well. And Quinn felt like his last game was his best one. But if you want to quibble with that move, that's fine, right? Was he the impact player they needed? Maybe not. And they did give up a decent amount for him. So that's fine. But like not every GM is going to have this great record every offseason because it's just hard. And again, I'm not trying to stick up for him, although obviously it sounds like it, but it's more trying to paint the accurate picture of what's happened here. And like I said, we all know that they're too old in some areas. Maybe they stuck with some guys too long, right? Maybe that was part of the issue for sure. But, and I think when you look at the season, I don't look at it as like, oh, they made all these bad moves last offseason. I look at it as the roster still needed more work. The schedule is tougher and injuries have been really, really bad. Like you're taking Terry McLaurin out of the equation for 5 games. It's not going to look good when he's not in there. And some of the guys that they relied on, the Dietrich Wise, Will Harris, like out early. That's tough. Now, could it be because of age? Maybe. Who knows? But bottom line is they're not out there. And so again, I think a lot of the things that they did were good and solid. I don't think that they felt like they had to skip a step or that they were at that point where like, hey, we have the Eagles roster. Like, I never got that sense. I got the sense that they knew they wanted another strong draft class. And there's still a lot to prove with even last year, because to me, part of the problem is too many guys in the second and third round last year, 5 guys, like not enough have developed into, are they going to be quality starters for them? I don't think you can say that yet. We don't know, right? I think some of them certainly have that chance. Some of them are strong contributors. I think Luke McCaffrey's in that mold. Sam still has done he's a quality starter. Has had some ups and downs this year. I know it, but quality starter. And so, I think there's something to build on, but you got to see more from that group. Like Benson, if he was a 5th round pick, you'd say, hey, that's a good pick. 2nd round pick, need to see more. So like you can quibble with all that. And that's why I say, when I say have another strong draft, they have to still, like you still have to get more out of that class. Could Jordan McGee be a guy there? Yeah, I think he could. And I think if you got that and you get the quarterback, you're in good shape. but you still need to, can you get more out of that group? Connelly, if he ascends, you're in a good spot there because now you have another strong tackle. You could have your tackles locked up for several years if that's how it plays out. Jalen Lane as a punt returner got to improve his hands. So in Krosky Merritt, can he become a quality starting running back? I think we still need to see more from that in that area, or do you still need to go out and get a guy? So I think there's guys you see, but again, I don't think it was a bad offseason. I think they've had some things working against them, and the roster was not ready to ascend to that level given the losses they've had, et cetera. So anyways, I don't know. You may disagree, and that's fine, and you go on. But I think they had a lot of holes, and they tried to find ways to fill a lot of those holes by bringing in vets. And that's where you had to thread the needle. Bring in some guys who can help you win now while trying to build. And that's where, to me, they have a chunk of young guys and a chunk of old guys, not enough guys in that middle. I think when you're in that middle, that's when you know you have the roster you want. When you get a lot of guys in that 25 to 28 range who are strong contributors, that's when you know you're ready to roll. And they aren't there yet, right? And can they get there after another offseason? I don't know. They're going to have a good one. Again, get some more youth in here and get some guys that are ready to ascend versus guys who are beyond that. So number two, I think Trey Burks, his time could be coming soon. And I think that's the sense you get for sure. And, I think it's coming soon. And part of it is to keep having these injuries. You have to keep elevating guys, and you're running out of guys you can elevate who are guys who could probably go out there and help you. That's why, he's on the practice squad. He's been here for several weeks, and he feels pretty good about where he's at. And I'm going to play the interview with him in a minute. That's why I think his time could be coming soon. And whether it's this week or next week, I think you're going to see Burks out there at some point relatively soon because, again, just for math, I mean, they need guys, and, you need guys who can help, right? And he's got some size. He's 6'2", about 225, 230, about 225. They don't have guys like that size, right? They don't have enough guys like that. And he can run tough. Like there are some routes that you can do. He's a 4.5 guy, so it's not necessarily that he's this burner, but he does offer that size. So can you get him some stuff maybe down the field just with a contested catch or on some tunnel screens where you get another good sized body in there that can do some damage, because that's something they had last year and it's not a lot of what they've used this year. So anyways, talk to him for about 4 or 5 minutes. I'm gonna play that in a minute. I will say, you come away kind of like, hey, he'll be an easy guy for you guys to root for. I think you'll enjoy this. He's very religious. That comes up. He relies on his faith in himself and in, just in religion. And I think it's also, he has a upbeat, positive mindset about it, given what he's been through with, he had an ACL tear in college. He had an ACL tear last year. He had, a fractured collarbone in camp. That's a lot to go through, but he's still confident. First of all, I'm going to play you this is what passing game coordinator Brian Johnson had to say about Trey Burks. Trey Burks, how's he looking?
He's been great. We had a really, really good practice yesterday. I was fired up to get a chance to get him here, and definitely he's going to be a guy that can help us.
What does he offer? When he's right, when you see what can he offer you guys?
Yeah, you see the talent, you see the ball skills. It's really interesting. I walked by in the meeting room the other day, and I saw the notes he was taking. It was as impressive as I've ever seen in terms of just drawing plays, understanding where he needs to be, and coming in ready to learn. So he's highly motivated. He's put together a really good week of practice, and I'm excited to see him continue to develop.
Now, okay, that's pretty good. And a lot of it was on the note taking, right? This is my conversation with Burks. Again, this is about 4 or 5 minutes. So buckle up, enjoy it, and we'll get to thought number 3. I'll ask about you. So I wanted to just find out how you're doing. So first of all, how are you feeling so far? You've been here for a few weeks.
Yeah, I feel great. Getting myself into game ready football shape past couple weeks, and Coach Quinn, Cliff, and the strength staff, they've been doing a great job getting me there. And I've also been doing my part too, so doing the extras, studying the playbook harder, and just getting caught up to where everybody is.
how close do you feel like you get to? Because I know it's practical, but guys get elevated. There's been a lot of chance here. So how close do you feel you are to the point where like, hey, I could go in there and help in the way I want to?
Yeah, I mean now,
Okay.
I've definitely done my part on. I feel like getting myself ready, prepared with the playbook and everything. So now it's I just leave it up to God now, and when my name's called, I know I'll be ready.
What do you feel when you're right? What do you feel you can add when you're you know who you are? You know who you can be. What do you feel you can add?
Literally, person that can elevate our room with speed, physicality, just the whole nine. I believe in myself, my abilities, and then also I believe in the coaching staff and in the plan that they have for me. And, it's just up to me to go out and execute it once I've presented it.
How frustrating has the last couple of years been with the injuries, the shoulder?
I would say not frustrating at all, for the simple fact it's just part of the journey that God has for me. And, I'm blessed to be where I am now. And, past couple of years it's been what it's been, but I don't dwell on it. It's made me into a better father, better teammate, better man. So, I'm just blessed.
There are a lot of players in the league who have example of similar journeys.
Yeah.
I mean, sir, do you get not inspiration, but do you ever talk to anybody about how to handle that, or you just like, hey?
I talk to God. I let Him lead me to exactly where I need to be, and I let the rest flow like a butterfly. So.
And again, journeys are different. Not everybody goes the same way. So,
Yeah.
do you how much do you feel like, hey, I haven't shown the NFL all that I can do because of some of these setbacks?
I would say I'm not trying to show the NFL. I'm going out there to prove myself right, because I know what I can do.
And that's instead of proving others wrong, prove yourself right.
I'm proving myself right. I didn't come here to prove nobody wrong. I'm just proving myself right, proving myself that I'm capable of overcoming obstacles with the faith and strength of God, and so I just let the rest be the rest.
It's like the positive way to look at it, right?
100%.
Is that have you always been like that?
I've always. You can ask anybody that knows me. I put my faith in Jesus, and I let the rest be the rest. I don't sit there. You will never see me hanging my head about anything because it's life, and things happen, and so I just take it and build from it and grow from it. So
you kind of feel your time is coming.
It's Lord's time. It's whenever God, wresents it, then it'll be that time. So I just know that He has me ready and prepared for it, though.
And the last thing, what has been maybe some of the tougher things, or some of the more tougher things? I don't know if it's tougher things is the right way to say it, but with this offense to get used to, to get up to speed to where you need to be.
Honestly, I would just say getting myself back into football shape. Like I can go out and run all day, but running is different from football shape. I ain't played football since last October when I tore my ACL. And then I go into training camp, first week of training camp, and break my collarbone. So, I've been out from it for a while, and I'll just say, if you want to quote unquote say the difficult part of it, I would just say was, getting myself back up into football shape. But, that wasn't hard. It's just, you put in the work, you'll have your days, but you just keep growing and growing, and, everything else will take care of itself.
How's the knee feel?
Great. Body feels great. 100%.
Awesome. Thank you, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, number 3, there are some serious run game issues, and I think they can get better. I don't know that it'll get better this weekend. It'll get better once you get your guys back on the outside, because in the last couple of games, like I know Dallas and Chicago played way more single high safety looks than they had in any game this season because there's no threat at receiver, right? And I think Deebo Samuel being healthy helps. I think that's going to help a lot, but there's a lot of issues with that run game right now. And some of it, again, you go back to the single high. So listen, just because they're doing that doesn't mean okay, that's it. You throw your hands up, you can't run. You can still do some things off of that. Now, if you're doing single high and it's man, well, do the RPOs work in that against that all the time? Well, it's going to be hard because it's man coverage, right? But if there's zone underneath or whatever, can you do some of that? Sure, right? But I think it's also the screen game. Can you get some of that? And you can still get some consistent 3, 4, 5 yard carries, which is what they were kind of doing against Kansas City with Krosky Merritt. What they're not getting are those 10-yard runs. Like Krosky Merritt has, he's had what, 2 10-yard runs in the last 3 weeks. Like that's just not going to cut it. So that's something that they're not getting. And part of that, I'll give a credit to Kansas City. And I think Seattle does this very well too. Very disciplined with their gap fits. So when he would get through for a 4-yard run, which is what it was blocked for, there's nowhere else to go after that because guys are around the ball. That is something you do not see enough of with this defense. I've talked about that. Not going to harp on that, but that is something you just need to see more from Washington's defense. It's why you get those explosive runs, right? And because you're not getting enough gang tangling, you're not getting enough guys with the ball because too many times you have big gap here because this guy's going in here. You got 2 guys over in this gap. It's just not disciplined enough. And I think until that changes, the run game success isn't going to change. So, Seattle doesn't run the ball well, but I'll get to that in a minute. I think Seattle is very good in this area. Teams have been doing a lot more movement up front against Dallas in the second half after Krosky Merritt actually started off well. That's a bad run defense. Should have been better. But he started off running the ball well. In the second half, they started moving a lot more up front, more line stunts, more, some run blitzes too. Seattle will do that for sure. So more, but more movement up front, slanting, stunting, et cetera. And that caused some issues. And then when you add up, 9, 8, sometimes 8, 9 guys up by the line of scrimmage, makes it very tough. And sometimes, like once you start those movements, you're as a lineman, you're aiming, who you're going to get is going to change. So now you're going on the fly, trying to adjust on the fly. And it's just a lot to go through. So that's why starts with getting some threats on the outside or more consistent threats on the outside. If you're in man, can Jaden Daniels hurt you running the ball? Because that's a good scramble defense, right? If he gets by you, you're scrambling. He can run for a while. That's how you can help yourself too. And it's like whatever it takes. Can you get some more RPOs? I think that's something they would like to get to. And can they do that? That's something that Jaden is very good at. That's a way to and as I was talking to Bobby Johnson about this. It's a way to put defenders in conflict. That's the thing you have to do. Because if all you're doing is coming up playing the run, you're going to stop the run. But if you put them in conflict, that's with the threats outside, then you have a chance. However you can do that, right? So I think those are some of the issues that they've had. And sometimes it's the details. Sometimes it's, you want to press the hole and cut, get those cutback lanes. But if the running back or if the handoff isn't in the right area, like to play side to center, maybe you're off a little bit and it allows guys to get you from the back, get you come backside and tackle them. And then 2, it's just you're off. So you're not pressing the hole the same way. And so now the linebackers aren't flowing the same way. Little details like that make a big difference when you're talking about the success or failures of run game, especially they need to get those linebackers flowing. And the Krosky Merritt was really good with that when it was going well. I mean, they were the best run team in the NFL. Their backs, their numbers are still not bad, but that's including quarterback runs. Like when I'm looking at this, can they run the ball with the backs, not just the scrambles, right? Because that's when you can start to sustain a little bit for sure. But again, I think this is where could Burks help in this way. If he's out there, again, size, is he enough of a threat? He hasn't done enough in the NFL, to be honest. Doesn't mean he won't, but he hasn't done enough in the NFL to sit there and say, oh, okay, especially because Seattle will get corner Devin Witherspoon back, a guy I love before the draft. But he'll be back. So they have guys who can cover. So if they want to just go do this, they can go do this. Now, one thing to know about Burks, I forgot about this, that he does track the ball well down the field. He played outfield in high school in baseball and was a very good player. So that always helps. I always remember Deshaun Jackson was a great high school outfielder, could have been drafted pretty high, first couple of rounds, but it allowed him to track the ball well down the field. And he's got big hands, man. It's that also helps down the field for sure. Anyways, that's an aside, but it's all related. I think having Debo back healthy helps. I think they just have to do more on offense to threaten the defense and get them in some tough positions. Haven't been enough of that. And Seattle's pass defense is not great. It's ranked 23rd. So can you get something in the pass game just to sustain drives and get going? Commanders fans, this is for you. Level up with the brand new AAA Commanders MVP membership. You'll receive all the benefits of AAA, such as 24/7 roadside assistance, plus chances to win game tickets access to exclusive team events and experiences, along with 15% off Commanders gear at the online pro shop. Already a AAA member? Add the Commanders MVP membership for free. Head to AAA.com/Commanders to upgrade or join the squad and put your fandom in drive. Number 4, I think Josh Connelly has a lot to learn. I think it's way more than you probably realize. And that's not a knock on him. It just tells you what tackles go through. And I mentioned this the other day. I talked about like Trent Williams, watching him. Trent Williams was a unicorn. I mean, that guy's probably he's going to be wearing a gold jacket someday. So it's not to say like he should do what Trent does, but Trent's issues early on were lessened because he was such a good athlete. He could recover. I think Tunsil's still at that point. Like, he does some really good things, but you can recover from your knowledge. You might not be in a perfect position, but you're in a better position because you understand what you need to do against certain players, or you're just more athletic or stronger than the guy around you. So maybe you can bump him off stride, and it allows you to catch up. That's what Trent was really good at. When he became a really good technician at tackle was after a few years. Then he became on his way to becoming a Hall of Fame player. Early on, he was just a really good athlete who played tackle, who still had a lot to learn. Josh Connelly is a good athlete. He's not the same as Trent Williams. He has a lot to learn. Like, there are little things. Like, it's not just about like, how do you defend the bull rush? It's what kind of bull rush is he going to provide? Like, high leverage, low leverage. Like, so where do you get your hands on this guy versus that guy? This guy might rush and want to put his hands on one side. Another guy might put his hand in the middle. How do you combat that, right? How many moves does that guy have, and how do you combat it? Like, if he puts his hand, he tries to rip through a certain way, you've got to attack his hands that way. But if he puts it a different way, you got to attack it a different way. Can you do that in a split second like that? That's the stuff that he's trying to learn. So it's all that stuff is swimming in your head. It's why it takes a while, especially like if he's a good prospect, but if he was an awesome prospect, he's not sitting there at 29, is he? He's going in the top 10. So like, that's something to keep. I'm not trying, again, this is not making excuses. It's trying to paint a picture of why is it taking a while? Why is it, where is the hope that it's going to get better? Because you have to learn, like, I know they talked to him before the season about like, hey, how many good pass rushes did you see in college in like 14 games last year? He said 3. So you got Abdul Carter, you got a couple guys from Ohio State there. I think there was another one. In the NFL, it's pretty much every week. Like, George Karlaftis is not considered an elite pass rusher, but he's very good. And he would have been one of the better guys he would have faced in college. Well, that's who he faced the other night. And it's a test. Every week is a test for that. So that's something, again, that's not just, speed rusher. Okay, if you're speed rusher, what kind, like, where is the speed coming? Is it inside, outside? Where does he like to go? All that stuff you've got to know. Like, and then it's also the other thing that they'll talk to him about is knowing what to look for in the defensive line, the person you're going against. How like, typically a pass rusher on their third step is going to make the move. What is he doing? How are his feet when he's lining up? Can you draw a clue from that? Yes, you can. And I think all this stuff is going on in the head and making that split second decision. Those decisions, it's not like, quarterback as many. However, it is a lot. And again, like, it's why it was going to always take a minute for him to get to a certain level. And it's why, like, what they like is how his approach, his attitude, is how he's staying confident in what he's doing, because like, that takes a lot of work. But anyways, that's all that to say, like, see how he progresses in the second half of the year. Does he get a lot better? I think there's still a lot to learn from us about him, but him about the game, right? And this isn't to say like he's going to be great when it's done. I don't know that yet, but I do know what all that has to be learned, and I do know his approach. Typically, like, the approach plus the talent plus the the work ethic equals a good player. He's got to get to there, but again, I'm just trying to give you a sense of all the stuff that he has to learn. Anyways. Here's what Bobby Johnson had to say about Josh Connelly. I talked to him for about a couple minutes about him as well. So hope you enjoy this. So checking in on Josh. Been 8 games now. What's your assessment?
I tell you what, Josh has done a really good job, because it's probably easy for a young guy, especially his age, being 21 years old, to lose some confidence. Even though when you go back and look at it, they're not maybe as bad as maybe the picture is painted. You start looking at raw stats, and you start going, and sometimes too, like, people start looking at the PFF stats, and I don't look into that at all, because They don't know what he's being told to do, what his responsibility is, if he made a mistake or somebody else did. So I've liked the fact that he's stayed pretty steady. He hasn't had his confidence rocked. He's harder on himself than probably we are as coaches. So really a lot of times it's just like, hey, this is okay here, or presenting information to him in a way like, hey, listen, okay, this is what caused you a little bit of problem. Understand that this is how you fix that. And we work on it going, okay, I understand. Until you put on tape that you have this fixed, you're going to get the same look. So understand people are going to keep checking you the same way. So expect it to happen rather than, hey, what ifs? It's going to happen. So he's done a good job of taking the information, taking the coaching, taking the veteran leadership, and really he works really hard at it. I'm seeing him just steadily improve. And that's the thing too, is it for a young player? Sometimes it's always not hearing what they did wrong or what they can improve, but what they're doing good.
Yeah,
so a lot of times I highlight, hey, this is really good here. This is exactly how we want it. Remember that, so that he doesn't lose sight on the things he's doing really well. So I've done things like, hey, write down this. Write down the things I tell you to do well. And then write down the things I tell you you need to work on. You're going to find out the list you're doing well is a lot longer than the list you got to work on. All right? So keep that in mind. I think he's done a pretty good job with that as for being a young player.
And there's always a lot of things to learn. I've noticed one thing, I don't know if I'm writing this or not, but like his hands are in better position when he's coming up there. And then sometimes, though, there was one time, and I don't know what the aiming point you want him to get is. And there's a couple times where I see him like up here. And like, I know it can't be, like, is it close? Is it what's going, like, how close is he to getting all that stuff?
I would say this.
And am I saying it kind of, or is it wrong?
You're seeing it closer to right than wrong. The one thing that you got to take into account too is every defender is a little bit different.
Sure.
So you got some guys that can change levels, that throws you off a little bit. The one thing is he's being more consistent with using his hands and placing them in the right spot.
Gotcha.
The one thing you have to tell him too is it's never going to be perfect. So I had to make that point of like going, okay, LT, how many perfect blocks or how many times has it been clean in your career? He goes, barely ever.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is,
I remember watching Trent Williams. He had to learn, but he could clean up because he was such a tremendous athlete.
right, and that's the thing that Josh has. He has incredible balance. You haven't seen him on the ground much.
No.
He has good balance. He has good change of direction, and he has just natural overall full body quickness. So for him, it's like, okay, if they don't land in the right spot, you got urgency of getting them to where you want them. Because now you got your hands on them. They can't go. But now you got to get them. And you see him working that. You see him working different punch combinations. You see him working where places in. So that's something where I see progress. Because initially it was just, let me get my hands on them and keep them there.
Okay.
And so that's where you got to show them the little things that there are improvements on, and not just the overall, like, hey, well, this is better. This is better. All right, you try this next. All right, you're close to it.
Gotcha.
Just keep working on that. So the key with a young guy like him is just give him one thing to focus on a day. It's like a golf swing. You go to a golf pro and they tell you 12 things to work on. Now your swing's way worse. Just concentrate on one
know
thing.
that.
Yeah, tempo, your eyes, whatever it may be. You focus on that until that gets good. Then you move on to the next thing. So he's got good leverage. He's got good tempo. It's just now it's like, okay, consistent hand usage with replacement. So I see it, and he's working at it, and he works at it a lot.
Number 5, I think this is going to be another tough game because it is a difficult matchup. Not impossible. You're not facing the kind of offense you did in Kansas City, that's for sure. But this is a very, very good defense, and that's the concern. If nothing else, we're looking at a 20-17 type game here. If you don't commit a lot of mistakes on offense, if you're not turning the ball over, if you're not committing penalties, I think then you have a chance to be in this game. But they have, like I told you, Witherspoon is back now. Their safety, Julian Love, is still out with an injury. So that's good news for Washington. But they have a guy playing for him who's done a nice job. And I forget his number 38, done a nice job for them. So anyways, this is a tough team. They're 10-1 on the road under Mike McDonald. By the way, he was definitely a guy that was on Washington that Washington liked. You know that. As far as wanting to, who are they going to hire as a head coach? I know that Quinn was all along, but so was McDonald. Like, he was a guy, but I think for him, and I think for them, you have a new coach to pair with a new GM. I don't think that's always ideal. That's partly my understanding about why he wanted to go out to Seattle, because you got paired with a proven GM in John Schneider. And it's been a good fit out there. And I still think it's a good fit here. And but I think McDonald's done a really good job, but that defense is really, really good. And the Ravens defense without that guy has not been really, really good. They have depth up front. Everything to me with them starts up front. They have a very good front. Leonard Williams, Byron Murphy, DeMarcus Lawrence. Like, he's another guy that Washington wanted. He's playing pretty well for where he's at, his stature or his age, etc. But he's playing pretty well. Washington wanted him, but only wanted to give him, my understanding at the time was only wanted to give him a 1-year deal. Seattle gave him a multi-year deal. That was the difference. But he's the guy they wanted. And yes, I think he could have helped them. Certainly at the time, I would have thought that. And I still think that in hindsight. But, and he would have helped them. So, but again, multi-year deal versus a 1-year deal here. But they have 4 guys who can put pressure on the quarterback. Uchenna I want to make sure pronounce Uchenna Nwusu. Leads them with 5 sacks. Number 7 does a nice job off the edge. Boye Mafe does a good job. I think you got, again, Williams, Murphy, Leonard Williams and Murphy, DeMarcus Lawrence. They don't blitz a ton. They don't blitz a ton at all. In fact, I think they have like among maybe the bottom 3 in terms of 5-man pressures. However, that's not a lot, right? But they're effective with it. They're tied for 9th with 4-man, when they blitz, they're tied for 9th with 7 sacks. And they're 7th in completion percentage allowed when they blitz. So they're effective when they do it. They just don't do it a lot. And I think that's what it's also like. They will bring the safety at times. Like they had one, I think it was against Houston or Jacksonville. They bring the safety down and they overload a side with he and the linebacker blitz in the same gap. The running back's got to come up and choose one. It doesn't matter who you choose. The other one's getting them because it was 2 versus 1. They were screwed because the line was blocking down. So they will do that. They will blitz the corner. They will send simulated pressures, right? But to me, everything for them starts with the run defense. And the dude you got to watch, Williams is very good there too, but Murphy is a beast inside. Like he is really, really good over the center. Watch how he plays double teams. It is really, really effective. And it's a key to why I think this defense is so good. Like first of all, he's not getting moved against double teams. He plays that technique so well. He splits it and he's able to penetrate off of that. Like that's partly why this group is so good against the run. Ernest Jones their linebacker plays fast, but I think, that's, again, their edge is pretty good. So very tough group to run against. You're just not going to get, I think the longest run they've given up this year is 13 yards. Like that's kind of incredible. So I apologize for my voice breaking a little bit, but that is incredible. Just really good. So again, can you hurt them with the pass? It certainly seems like that, right? Because they do rely on 4-man pressures. 3rd downs is when you have to watch those blitzes, but you can move the ball against them in that way. They're just like, but against the run, first again in yards per carry, first in yards per game, first in yards after contact, like very little. I think it was like 1.17 yards after first contact for them, which is absurd. So that tells you they don't miss tackles. They have guys always around the ball, and that's why they're very good. Now let's take a quick look at the O, and then I'll be out of here. Jackson Smith and Jigba, I know him, played for Ohio State. He is phenomenal. And when he was at Ohio State, I didn't watch him with a certain eye, right? You just know this guy's really good. Well, watching him and leading up to this game, he's phenomenal because he can get open in multiple ways. He is so good at selling routes. Like he can sell routes in multiple ways. He doesn't just have one move. He's got multiple moves against various leverages. He'll attack your leverage. He'll attack your feet. That's, Cooper Kupp does that too. I don't know if he's going to play. He's questionable, but I'll get to him in a minute. So with JSN, like, you watch him, like he will sell a dig route and then break outside, but there's very little, it's such an economical move. Like he'll turn inside, but he's turning back out. It's almost on a straight line. It's so crisp, so quick, and it doesn't give the corner a lot of chance to react, right? So he is fantastic. He can beat you deep, strong hands, and good after the catch. Like there's very little with him that's like, now, well, can he alone beat you? Perhaps. Like, I could see a big game for him, but does that mean Seattle automatically scores a lot of points? Well, no, because that offense is kind of up and down. They don't have Kenneth Walker as a good back, but he's not an explosive back. So can you limit those explosive? You can't give up explosive runs to this team, right? You just can't. Like if they start getting that, it's a wrap. because it's going to be hard to score against them. So you need to keep this a lower scoring game and give this team a chance, or at least that's going into it. That's how you think. And then third downs, they're not great there. Like, I think, what are they on third down? It's not very good. I can't remember what it was. It's not, they're not one of the better teams on third down. I want to say, I had my numbers here and I can't find it, but I'm going to look it up for you as I speak. But suffice to say, like, if you can do a good job in that area, you have a chance to deliver to be in that game. And I think that's what you want to be, of course. Sam Darnold, if you pressure him, like, he's done a nice job. There's no doubt he's done a good job for them. I think with him, can you get to him, he's got that wind up. If you can get to him, different quarterback. That's the same thing for everybody, right? And by the way, Seattle is 27th on third down. So they are, like I said, not very good in that area, but can you pressure Donald enough to maybe get him? At times he'll be a little bit inaccurate, but he has a great connection with Smith and Jigba, and he does a nice job with Cooper Kupp. But again, Kupp is questionable. He will definitely hurt you out of the slot if you let him. Beyond those two at receiver, there isn't anybody. It's just, those are the guys at receiver. So, but then they have Barner and Arroyo at tight ends. Barner's has like 18 catches, so a few a game. Arroyo has 11. So you've got to watch them on some of the play action. The play action is also, they don't run it a lot. It's like, it's one of the fewer amounts of play action passes in the NFL, but you better be disciplined with your eyes and you better react well, because they may be one of the lower teams in play action, but they average like 14.9 yards per attempt. That's I think that leads the NFL in yards per attempt on play action. So they're effective at it. They just don't do it a lot. But you better be disciplined with your eyes against Smith and Jigba and against that play action, because they will run it for sure. But there you go. Going to be a tough one, folks. I felt like going in Kansas City, like, that was going to be, I didn't think they would win that game, because the Chiefs are too good. They're at home. Their defense is playing well, but that offense with Mahomes is just different. This team has a great defense, but I don't look at their offense and say they're just different, right? Smith and Jigba is, but I think Darnold is being very effective and playing well, but you can't look at him in the same way. So you can be in this game. And then it's like, can Jaden make some plays? Can they play a more flawless game on offense and not turn it over, convert? Like, they've got to convert on the fourth downs. They've got to convert in the red zone. They haven't been doing that. But the defense, did the defense start to show something last week against the Chiefs that may help them play better down the stretch? We'll see. I think this is a good test to see, did they really take a step? Or, was the first half last week more Araj, but that was also because you created turnovers too. So it wasn't like you were stopping and forcing punts. You created turnovers, but you got to do one or the other. So can you do that? So I think that's going to be interesting. So Seattle's a better team right now. They're playing well, but it is a game that you can win at home on a Sunday night for sure. Going to be tough. So anyway, folks, that's it for me. Like I said, club members, 3 hours before kickoff, I'll be on the private chat. I'll be back after the game with another wrap up of the Commanders game. So, and some more dad jokes next week. I apologize for that in advance. Talk to you next time.